Hello! Welcome to Thumb the Scales, Chapter 3, The Wolf and the Witch. Trigger warning, the campaign may contain mature or difficult topics, though nothing adult or explicit. I'm Jihe, your DM. Your party consists of Comet, Ren, and Windbreaker, and last session you went on your second adventure to solve a territory dispute between flocks of birds, only to run across a mysterious magic ice pylon. You wake up the next morning, refreshed and ready to begin your grueling training as a waiter at Bardol's Tavern. You are greeted in the morning by Billy, Bardol's son, who shows you the ropes and quickly cuts you loose.
You can keep all the tips you make, but make sure they don't fall out of your pockets. I've lost a few tips recently.
Windbreaker tries very hard not to make eye contact, and you all begin your new jobs. The recession has been bad, but with the sheer volume of customers, you're still getting decent tips. On your first break, Comet sneaks off to Salwood Prison and speaks to Warden Larry Brightcastle again. He's not sure if he should save up and try to bail out Captain Celeste first, but figures that if she could speak to him, she'd tell him to save the others first. Hey, so I got the money. Can I bail out Grubbs? Larry's a bit surprised and impressed that they came up with the money so fast and calls to the guards,
Bring out the goblin. His bail is here.
They lead Grubbs out in chains, flanked on both sides by two guards. Larry unlocks Grubbs' chains and reluctantly hands him his two rapiers and two hand axes and says,
Alright, you're out on bail for now, but you better show up to court when it's time for your trial.
Grubbs just takes the weapons and nods, but he gives Comet a wink. Grubbs shuffles up to Comet and passes him on the outside of the leg, which is the easiest spot for him to reach.
Nice work, kiddo!
His hand leaves behind a dirt streak, but Comet doesn't notice and just shows Grubbs to Bardol's. So I found a little party to help me get money to bail out the rest of the crew. We still need a lot of money. Grubbs doesn't seem perturbed.
Great! We'll get some more adventures!
Comet and Grubbs arrive back at the tavern, and Comet introduces Grubbs to Ren and Windbreaker. Ren does a curtsy and politely greets him, and Windbreaker does a formal bow, but it's stiff because they're both shy and disgusted by Grubbs' dirtiness. The other patrons of the tavern also cast Grubbs a lot of suspicious glances, as goblins aren't generally thought of as honest folk, even in diverse Saltwood. But Grubbs doesn't seem to notice, and just sits down to eat some food. Comet, Ren, and Windbreaker do a little more waiting tables before joining Grubbs to eat. As you're finishing up your meal, a messenger runs into the tavern with a letter, asking for Comet, Ren, and Windbreaker. The letter reads,
Dear Comet, Ren, and Windbreaker, please come down to my brewery at your earliest convenience. I need some adventurers I can trust, and I have a handsome reward. I sent some horses for your convenience. Sincerely, Glowkindle Plum Brew.
Enticed by the handsome reward, Comet instantly agrees, and the others follow. There are only 3 horses, but Grubbs jumps on behind Comet, and you're on your way. You arrive at a familiar building of neat stone and a large but down-to-earth banner that says Plum Brew Brewery, 400 years of the best barley brew. The building is much tidier than yesterday, and there are a lot of workers bustling around, mostly cheerful gnomes, but a few dwarves who seem to be hauling the really heavy stuff. Glowkindle spots you and scurries over. Another gnome shuffles behind her reluctantly. He seems roughed up. He's got bandages with dried blood wrapped around his head, and he smells like booze and body odor.
Oh good, you got my letter. Oh,
She stops short when she sees Grubbs.
you have a goblin friend?
Comet says, Yeah, is that a problem? Glowkindle hesitates a moment before saying,
Well, no, I just didn't prepare for reward. I'll see what I can do while you're gone.
So what do you need? Windbreaker asks.
You see, the brewery is doing great since you all helped with the rat infestation. Our production has gone up 34%. We started shipping out to more new locations, mostly in gnome villages further north. I want you to take this shipment of brew up to Pebbleshire in the northwest. I have 50 gold pieces for the 3 of you, at least.
Glowkindle gestures for the other gnome with her to step closer, since he was standing at a bit of a distance.
This is my twin brother, Glowburn. Normally he would ship for me, but I don't want him to go alone again. Last time he got robbed by bandits and lost all the supplies. I'd like you to escort him to Pebbleshire and keep him safe.
Glowburn crosses his arms and pouts.
I told you I can do it myself, Kindle.
Glowkindle puts her hands on her hips, but she turns to you all.
He thinks he's some kind of adventurer, but he needs protection. Listen, the merchandise is important, but protecting Glowburn is priority number 1, okay? And don't let him drink the brew before you get there.
I'm not gonna drink the merchandise, Glowburn says. He pulls a flask out of nowhere. Have all the drink I need right here, and takes a deep swig. Comet makes a concerned comment about Glowburn's drinking, but Glowburn just waves a hand. It's whatever. I always drink like this. Oh. You take the car loaded with barrels and start your journey. About a day in, you're walking through the peaceful forest. It's lush and full of little critters, it smells like fresh topsoil, and you can hear plenty of birdsong. You make light conversation with Glowburn along the way, and he mostly complains. I don't get why Kindle got to inherit the brewery from Dad. He at least should have passed it on jointly. Maybe it's because you've been drinking a lot, Comet says. Glowkindle seems sober. Yeah. Glowburn takes another swig of his flask. One day I'll be an adventurer. I'll make it even bigger than Kindle. Windbreaker, sympathizing with living in the shadow of a more successful sibling, urges Glowburn, you should forge your own path, not do what your parents want. Yeah, I reckon I will, Glowburn says, and takes yet another swig. Comet frowns. Here, listen to the song. He composes a song on the spot called The Dangers of Alcoholism, but Glowburn just grumbles, what are you singing that for? And waves him off. As you approach the village of Pebbleshire, you realize it's getting rapidly colder, and the foliage is coated in a thin layer of frost. You can see the puffs of your breath in the air. Suddenly, a bunch of bandits jump out of the woods. We are the land pirates! Ahoy! And they attack. Immediately, Glowburn charges in, clubs swinging. Wait, says Comet, we're supposed to protect you! But Glowburn ignores them and engages the nearest bandit, who easily dodges his haphazard swing. The rest of you jump into action to help. Comet uses Thunderwave to blast back some of the pirates, Windbreaker hides in the trees and snipes with her short bow, and Ren freezes bandits where they stand with her Ray of Frost. Grubbs quickly proves to be an apt fighter, cutting down bandits with his rapiers, and he pays special attention to protecting Comet. Unfortunately, Glowburn isn't so useful.
Watch this,
says Glowburn, and he takes a swing at a bandit, but the bandit simply steps out of the way and bops him on the head, bringing him down to 1 HP. Windbreaker leaves their spot hiding in the bushes to help Glowburn, and luckily they're able to defeat the pirates without any of them knocking Glowburn out. Comet casts Cure Wounds on Glowburn as Ren exclaims, Doubles? She's speaking to one of the bandits, who's wearing 2 eye patches. How do you know this guy? Windbreaker asks. He's a deckhand for the Riptide Pirates. Who are they? Comet asks. Surprised he's never heard of this other pirate crew. They're the ones who kidnapped me, Ren says. I've been looking for revenge ever since. She questions Doubles, who explains,
Well, after you escaped, Captain Smelta wasn't happy. She was downsizing and I got let go. Said she was gonna hire better men.
Ren isn't sure what to do with this information yet, but she notes it for later. Windbreaker asks, Why did they kidnap you? Ren says, I'm not sure. Do you know Doubles? Doubles shrugs.
I don't know. Captain Smelta never told me much about her plans.
Just then, you notice another of the land pirates sobbing quietly. He's smaller than the others, clearly a gnome, while the others were humans. Windbreaker says harshly, Who are you? Whoa, we can be nice to him, Comet says.
My name is Fernface. I didn't mean to get caught up in all this. I'm from Pebbleshire, but things got bad there. All the crops froze in a crazy late frost, and most of the livestock ran away. So I had no choice but to turn to thievery.
Windbreaker is still reluctant to trust Fernface just because he was crying, but Comet and Ren think he's probably being genuine, and decide to take him back to Pebbleshire. Well, we're here to fix the frost, Comet says. Fernface sniffles.
How are you gonna do that?
Have you seen any ice pylons around here?
Ice pylons?
No. You decide to talk to the village leaders and see if they know anything about a local ice pylon. Ren and Comet give the bandits a firm scolding, catching them off guard and extracting sheepish apologies from them. Windbreaker is skeptical that will make them change their ways, but doesn't have enough rope to tie them all up and bring them in, so they settle for taking just one. Comet makes them promise they won't commit any more crimes and will get real jobs, and the pirates look confused, but quickly agree, sensing that Comet might let them go free. Pebbleshire is a cozy farm village with a modest population, but it's in bad shape because of the frost. There aren't too many villagers out and about. It seems like most of them are shut up inside. The ones that are out are mostly gnomes, but a few humans as well. The buildings are simple and clean, and the cobblestone is so worn that it takes you a moment to realize that the cobble is made entirely of small to medium pebbles, as are any other structures made of stone. Ren recognizes the architecture as gnomish, and knows that most gnome villages are laid out similarly, with the town hall in the center, so she leads you there to find the village leader. Standing in the town center is an unusually tall gnome, with a curled beard and stooped back, talking to a wildly gesticulating gnome with severe sunburn on their face. You approach, bandits in tow, and the gnome with the curled beard turns to you. He seems surprised, both by the tied-up person and by the presence of a goblin, but he doesn't comment.
Oh, hello. What brings you here?
Globurn pushes his way to the front.
Oh, hello, sir. Just bringing a shipment of from brew.
Oh, lovely. Give Glowkindle my regards. Who's this fellow you have tied up?
Comet explains that he's a bandit who tried to rob you on your way up, and the gnome says,
Ah, yes. We've been having trouble with those bandits lately. But where are my manners? My name is Honeygold. I'm the leader of Pebbleshire.
He gestures to the other gnome with the sunburn.
And this is my friend, Jollyroot Jones.
Jollyroot tips their hat to you, then notices Fernface cowering behind Comet. Fernface? Is that you, boy?
I'm sorry, Jollyroot, really.
Jollyroot sighs. Get back over here. Sorry about him. He's a farmhand of mine, but can't seem to stay out of trouble. Jollyroot looks at you all. But, say, are you an adventuring party? Because I have need of some adventurers. Have you seen an ice pylon nearby? Comet asks. Jollyroot looks confused. No. I've never heard of that. Though this frost is unusual and a big problem. But right now, I have a bigger problem. Someone's stolen my sheep. If you help me get them back, you can keep 25% of them as a reward. Oh. Comet thinks about it for a moment. But is there any money involved? Well, you can sell the sheep at market later if you need it in cash, but sheep are definitely worth good money, Jollyroot says. You all agree to help, and Honeygold sets you up in a nearby empty house, presumably reserved for merchants and other visitors. There are 4 human-sized sleeping bags for guests, which Comet, Windbreaker, Ren, and Globurn claim, and Grubbs happily makes a spot for himself in the ashy fire pit. Why don't you stay here, Globurn? Comet says.
Well, I want to go on the adventure.
Yeah, but we were supposed to protect you, and earlier you were almost knocked out. So it's probably safer if you stay here.
Oh, come on. But I can do it.
We know, Comet lies, but this will probably be real quick anyway.
Alright. I guess I should take the shipment to bread and bread anyway.
Comet, Ren, Windbreaker, and Grubbs head out to meet Jollyroot, while Globurn takes the brew to the local tavern. Jollyroot brings you to their farm, which has a modest-sized field of yellowed grass and a fenced-in livestock pen. The pen is empty, and there are deep, fresh scratch marks around the latch, but they look deliberate. See, normally I would think it was just some animal, Jollyroot says, but there's no carcasses or blood left in the pen. And something with a brain opened that latch. Do you have any way of tracking your sheep? Windbreaker asks. All my sheep have a big blue J painted onto their wool, Jollyroot says. And they whistle, and the dog bounds over to you and sits. Biscuits here can help you track them. You follow Biscuits, who instantly puts her nose to the ground and starts leading you away from the farm. She leads you on a fairly straight path into the woods just outside of Pebbleshire. You reach a clearing in the woods where the canopy opens up and grass is still growing a bit on the ground. There are a few shepherds there, each with a little flock. Tail wagging, Biscuits greets each shepherd, except for the last one, who she won't approach. While Comet asks some of the shepherds if they've seen anything suspicious lately, including a friendly shepherd named Harold, Windbreaker looks carefully and sees that the last shepherd has sheep with big J's painted into their wool. They gesture to Comet and Wren, who immediately catch on. You casually walk up to the shepherd. "Hi," says Comet. "Are these your sheep?"
Hi,
says the shepherd.
yeah,
"Oh, really?"
yeah.
It's quiet for a moment before Comet says, "What's your name then?"
Wilhelm,
"Well, Wilhelm, why do your sheep have big J's on them if your name starts with W?" Wilhelm tilts his head for a moment, then plants his staff in the ground.
you caught me, huh?
"Well, if you're trying to take my dinner, I'll just have you instead!" The shepherd drops his cloak, and you see him start to grow, his clothes ripping as his muscles expand and coarse gray hair sprouts from his skin. His face elongates into a snarling snout. Viscous drool drips from his fangs. The rancid smell of his breath fills the air. You all jump into action. The other shepherds flee with their sheep, and so do Jollyroot's sheep, though they don't get very far before Biscuits herds them back in, a bit away from the fighting. Soon enough, the party defeats Wilhelm, knocking him unconscious. Windbreaker wants to finish the job and kill him, but Comet is against the idea on principle. "Well, he was just trying to eat," Comet says.
Yeah, us, Windbreaker says.
"Well, if we don't have to kill him, then we shouldn't," Wren says. "Maybe jail?" "True," Comet says. "Pebbleshire has a jail. That's where they took the land pirate." Windbreaker is reluctantly contemplating this when Grub says,
We could turn him into a rug.
Everyone looks at Grubbs, but he seems none the wiser. What? Comet asks.
We could turn him into a rug.
No, Windbreaker says. Ultimately, you opt not to kill him and to take him to Pebbleshire's jail. While tying him up, Comet picks up his quarterstaff, which is made of mossy wood and carved with a vine. Windbreaker loots Wilhelm and finds a paper in his pocket. It's a pink envelope sealed with a heart-shaped wax seal. Inside, it says,
Dearest Fuzzyhead Wilhelm, this little cold snap is just the beginning. Go to the pier tomorrow and I'll show you something really cool. Your wiliest wench, Wanda Witch.
You take the note and livestock back to Pebbleshire and decide to investigate this Wanda Witch. Windbreaker thinks that if anyone put up an ice pylon around here and caused the unnatural frost, it was probably a witch. Honeygold is not too pleased about you bringing another person to put in his jail, considering its small size, but he commends your hard work and takes Wilhelm in as well. Comet uses a nearby scrying bowl to contact Larry Brightcastle, hoping to help Honeygold out. "Hey Larry, it's me, Comet."
Oh, hi? Are we on a first-name basis?
"Yes. Anyway, I captured some bad guys for you to pick up here in Pebbleshire. Their prison is too small, so if you could come get them, that'd be perfect."
Oh, Pebbleshire, sure. I'll come pick them up, but it'll take us until tomorrow to get there. I'll see you then.
Comet hangs up and tells Honeygold the news. Meanwhile, Jollyroot is thrilled to have their sheep back and gives you 5 sheep, which they promise to keep for you until you're ready to sell them. You all go back to the small house where you were staying, only to find a note from Glowburn. It says,
I'm staying with a friend tonight. Don't worry about it. Glowburn.
Comet and Wren are instantly worried about it, and Windbreaker is immediately suspicious. Windbreaker decides to search Glowburn's bag, though Comet and Wren are nervous about the intrusion. Inside Glowburn's pack, they find many flasks, some empty and some full, and also some mysterious capsules that appear to be hard drugs. Comet goes outside to ask Honeygold if he happens to know where Glowburn is staying, and Honeygold tells him that Glowburn's at his girlfriend's house. Windbreaker thinks they should go find him and question him about the pills, but it's getting dark, and Comet doesn't want to interrupt anything, so he pushes for you all to go to bed and simply asks Glowburn about it in the morning. The following day, Windbreaker climbs a tree to spy on Glowburn and sees that he's chilling with a female gnome at her house. Comet and Wren decide to just knock on the door, though Windbreaker continues looking from the tree. The female gnome answers the door and she says,
Oh, are these your friends, Bernie?
Oh, what are you guys doing here?
Glowburn says. "What are you doing here?" Comet counters.
Well, I left a note, didn't I? This is my girlfriend, Dirtball.
Dirtball waves a little bit.
Hi!
Oh. Ren looks at Windbreaker in the tree. You can come down now, Windbreaker. Blushing a little, Windbreaker climbs down from the tree.
Well, what do you lot want?
Glowburn asks, taking another swig from his flask. Well, we felt bad about not letting you come on the adventure yesterday, Comet says. Comet himself was always left behind on the ship while the rest of his crew pillaged because they didn't think Comet was much of a fighter, so he empathizes with Glowburn. We were wondering if you wanted to come with us to investigate the pier. Oh, Glowburn says.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well. Yeah. I'll come.
Glowburn puffs out his chest and follows you out, waving a quick goodbye to Dirtball. After you leave Dirtball's house, Windbreaker immediately turns to Glowburn and takes out the capsules they found in his bag. What are these?
Oh.
Glowburn looks sheepish.
Look, I don't do any of that hard stuff. I just stick to drink, you know?
Then why were they in your bag?
Well, you know, it's sort of like a side gig. You sell it on the side, and you know how it is.
Everyone is silent for a moment, shocked.
Look, I don't do it, though.
Glowburn blushes.
Here, I'm meeting my supplier in a few days, and maybe we can take his gold and split it.
Comet, Ren, and Windbreaker exchange looks of disbelief. Grub stares ahead as usual, unperturbed. What? Asks Comet. Glowburn is still blushing.
Well, if you want a cut of the money, we can... Oh, never mind.
That's not the problem here, Comet says. You decide to discuss it later, though, and head towards the pier. Everything seems rather ordinary, except for the paper-thin layer of ice across the lake. There's a rickety old dock, and in front of it is a glossy black cat with glowing yellow eyes. It starts going off into the woods, then turns to look at you, then continues on its way. You follow the cat and stumble across a small cabin in the woods. It also seems rather ordinary. It was probably once a cute and cozy cottage, but now it's a bit run down. The only thing that's odd is the quiet. There are a lot of toads about, but not one of them croaks. The cat has disappeared. You search the cottage, but it seems abandoned and dusty, and there's nothing interesting in there. However, there is a strange magical hum in the air, an unsettling sense of vibration. Windbreaker searches the perimeter of the cottage to see if they can find where it's coming from, and they find a cellar door. Windbreaker opens it, and the hinges glide soundlessly. A sour but vaguely floral aroma floats up. The air is thick and humid. There's a worn-out ladder leading into the darkness, and there's an unlit torch near the bottom of the ladder. Glowburn seems a little too excited about it.
Oh, secret basement, eh? Let's go then.
You need to calm down, buddy, Comet says. Glowburn pouts.
I'm calm.
You climb down the ladder, Windbreaker first and then the rest, with Grubs bringing up the rear. You hear water sloshing, and as Ren casts light, you see that you're in a small sort of mudroom with crates about, and there's a hallway with a light at the end of it. The problem is, instead of a floor, there seems to be a deep pool of water full of fish with big teeth. Windbreaker whips out their fishing gear they stole from Kitos and catches one of the fish. It's a piranha.
Alright, we're not swimming across with those, are we?
Glowburn asks. No. Let me try something. Ren steps forward and aims her hands at the water. Her necklace glows and she casts Ray of Frost on the water, freezing it solid.
Cool,
Glowburn says. Windbreaker shushes him and sneaks forward, followed by Comet, Ren, Grubs, and Glowburn. As you approach the end of the hallway, you start to smell something that singes your nose hairs. Trying to follow the scent, Windbreaker, Ren, and Comet all walk through the door together and get splashed with the weak acid. Wait, Comet says, stopping Grubs and Glowburn from walking through. There was a trap.
Oh!
Ouch! Says Grubs.
You do reckon put the trap there?
Glowburn says, as Windbreaker disables the trap. The room you've entered seems to be some sort of laboratory. The walls are stone, but there are many wooden shelves stocked with bottles and vials and tubs, some empty and some full. Between the shelves of books and potions, there are barred entrances to small cells, all of which are empty at the moment except for a few scattered bones. The floor is damaged in some places where something corrosive might have spilled, but there doesn't appear to be any structural damage. There's a stone table in the center of the room with someone lying down on it, unmoving. Beyond the table, there's a set of wooden double doors. Carefully, Windbreaker, Comet, Wren, and Grubs make their way into the room. Comet sees the cells and suggests you can hide in there if something goes wrong. Windbreaker examines the potions on the shelves, but before anyone can get thoroughly investigating, Globern says,
Oh, hey, I'm stuck.
Somehow, he's managed to stick both his feet into a trap that appears to be some kind of super fly paper laid in a strip across the floor. Windbreaker tries to pull Globern free, but Globern's shoes are too ill-fittingly tight on his feet to pry him off the fly paper, with or without his shoes. While Wren contemplates that, Windbreaker goes over to the person lying on the stone table and finds that person is definitely dead. Probably long dead. Still, the body is strangely blue, and there's a strange crust on its skin, which upon closer examination appears to be frost. Windbreaker's medicine check reveals this guy probably died of cold exposure. Meanwhile, suspecting something is up since Wanda hasn't shown herself yet, Comet casts Disguise Self and disguises himself as Wilhelm. He approaches the double doors, planning to see if Wanda is back there and if she can answer a few questions for them. Windbreaker and Wren catch on and gesture for Grubs to help them flank the double door.
What about me?
Globern asks, still standing awkwardly in the middle of the room on the flypaper. Just crouch down, Windbreaker says, and Globern obliges as best he can without getting more stuck on the flypaper. Luckily, he's already quite short and is mostly obscured by the table. Comet opens the double doors to see if Wanda is home. The doors lead to an office, with a desk and a chair, and at the other end of the room, there's an altar with a cauldron, covered in curdled blood. Comet starts to sweat nervously. Wanda is sitting at the desk and stands when she sees Comet.
Wilhelm?
Hey, Comet says, trying his best to act casual and like Wilhelm. What's with the body out there, huh? Oh. Wanda bats her eyelashes and comes closer.
Him? I was just testing the new ice shipment, that's all. It was just for fun. You have nothing to worry about.
Ice. Where are you getting that?
You remember that tiefling restaurant, don't you?
Right. So, he gave you the ice? Wanda rolls her eyes playfully.
You're so silly talking all this business.
She takes Comet's hand.
Now, I'm gonna make out on my blood altar.
Oh. Comet tries not to make a face and blow his cover. He glances at the double doors, which are still wide open, and he quickly leaves Wanda to close the doors. Well, can't have the door open.
Oh, Wilhelm, you're so romantic.
She opens her arms as if she wants to wrap them around his neck, and Comet casts Thunderwave, blasting her back and reopening the doors.
What was that, Wilhelm?
Wren and Grubs jump into view, ready for combat. Instantly, Wanda fixes her eyes on Wren.
Oh my god. You've been cheating on me? How dare you?
She casts Hold Person on Comet, trying to immobilize him, but Grubs jumps in, swords ready, and yells, "Don't touch Comet!" While Wanda is momentarily confused about who Comet is, Grubs slashes her and she lets go of Comet. Windbreaker hides behind the door and shoots with her short bow. Ignoring the others for now, Wanda focuses on Wren, hatred burning in her eyes.
I'll destroy you, you wench!
Wren thinks fast. Hey, I didn't know there was another woman either.
He played us both? You two are timing...
She aims another spell at Comet, but Windbreaker shoots her with an arrow and she goes down. Windbreaker quickly ties her up and questions her. She is still distraught that Wilhelm was cheating on her, but she answers her questions.
There's some guy here, Phineas Flem. He came from the Winterlands to check on operations or something, I don't know. I'm just here to have fun. I don't really care about all that political stuff higher up.
But I do know where Phineas put up an ice pylon to make it cold here. She gives you a location in the woods.
Hello? Did you forget about me?
Glowburn calls from the main room. While Grubbs drags Wanda to bring her to jail, Windbreaker investigates the potion shelves and finds several useful potions, including one that can dissolve the glue on Glowburn's shoes to free him. You walk back to the town square in Pebbleshire and turn Wanda into Honeygold. We need to go get rid of the ice pylon, Comet says. Windbreaker looks doubtfully at Glowburn.
Oh, come on, let me come with. I didn't even get to do anything.
Well, if you'll be careful, Ren says.
I will,
Glowburn says.
I promise.
Okay, Comet says. You head back out into the woods, searching for the source of the unnatural frost. Thank you all for watching. Leave a thumb up if you enjoyed. Check out the social media of my lovely players below. Subscribe to see more of the campaign, and I'll see you in our next session.
Bye.